Bitcoin has managed to pull off an impressive development here because we've actually started now trading sideways above the $60,000 price area, which is absolutely great. It shows us that we could be having a chance to get up to the critical $64,000 price area. And this is actually where I think the big decisions are going to be made. I think that if we're able to get above this particular level, we might have a really good shot at actually recovering this entire trend. But if we get here and this area serves as what you kind of have to expect at this point, which is resistance, then you could definitely be seeing some further continuation down for Bitcoin. So I want to break this and a lot more down for you in this YouTube video. But before we get into it, I want to highlight to you a phenomenal offer that Blowfin is running. Of course, they are a no KYC platform, meaning they won't ask you for a picture of yourself or your ID to get started. And when you sign up using my link below, you're going to be able to get started trading within like 2 minutes. The deposit crediting is super quick as well. And based on your trading volume in about the next week from now, you have a chance to win a Tesla Model 3. So there's only a week left to take advantage of this campaign. But based on how much you trade, you are going to be winning some very cool offers. We'll come back to that in just a bit. But let's talk about this market here. We've got a nice kind of fresh look at this now from the kind of dump that we had previously to the dump that we had just now. This is about the most aggressive dump that we've actually had in this range for some time. We've also developed a red Ichimoku cloud here on the 1 day, which we're going to be talking about in just a minute. But 22% in 24 days, 18% in 18 days. So definitely kind of on par with what we've seen before, potentially even a little bit more aggressive because of how people have been feeling in this market. Obviously, we were looking at the fear and greed index, which has now updated. Today, it has a reading of 40, but we have seen it actually drop down quite low, especially in the last kind of few days here to a reading of 30. So we'll come back to all of that in just a second. This is all very interesting, but the first thing I want to do is just take a look at this Bitcoin chart from a perspective that we've already kind of had on this chart for some time now. Let me go ahead and find that chart. It's this one right here, where we already knew about this particular price zone at about 62.5. It's the same red line that I've actually had drawn on this chart for quite some time now. It goes back to some really nice kind of reversal points, and Bitcoin is trading perfectly inside of this sideways range here that we were talking about on the YouTube channel. So smash up the likes for that if you are excited, because that's definitely a good sign in my opinion, and I think it continues to kind of produce the possibility for Bitcoin to repeat what happened back here in 2023 now in 2024. We'll come back to this chart in just a minute as well, because it's obviously quite a bullish price target that we've got to talk about there. But what I think is good here is that we are kind of maintaining our lows at this stage. We have kind of punched in the same high here, which is okay, but the fact that we are maintaining our lows is a very good sign, and it also means that we've actually now set a new higher low in this market at the moment. So again, good early development signs. Now, would I prefer that the market had already recovered up massively compared to this? Yes, definitely, right? I mean, if we take a look at this from the moment that we bottomed, let's take a look at this here. From the moment that we bottomed until now, it has been 2 days and 20 hours. And if we look at the same kind of time frame, the last time Bitcoin did this, we were up already by about 12%, right? So we clearly are performing the weakest now on this bounce here. I mean, on this occasion here, if we kind of look 2 days and 20 hours in the future here, we're still up by 7%. From this low to current price, we're only up by 4.5%, 5%. So we're definitely, kind of seeing the weakest bounce so far, and that's not great, but it's also not super unexpected. That's kind of what you would expect to see now that we've tested this level so many times. So the fact that we're even holding above is still a good sign, and I think that as long as we don't lose this floor now at 60.5, I think we're good. If we do lose this floor, then essentially, you're basically going to be looking at that prior swing low as being our next support. But I obviously don't think that's going to hold. I think most of you probably don't think that's going to hold either, and that's probably where we would see an absolute rip down. I don't even think that the previous low here at 56, 57 is going to hold. We're probably looking at $52,000. Of course, this was our previous kind of zone of consolidation, and so naturally that's where you'd kind of expect these price bounces to take place. So I think it'd be a big steep drop for Bitcoin, and I think that the invalidation is very tight. I think that it's only down here at 60,500, which makes the altcoins very interesting. I mean, if we take a look at Ethereum, I guess Bitcoin is continuing to gain some strength. Of course, some of the other altcoins, Cardano here, continuing to gain strength, and the community favorite Solana also doing incredibly well here, which is absolutely fantastic. Now from its low up by 23% at the top here, which is absolutely great. And I think that a lot of these recoveries that we're seeing on altcoins could get very ugly if Bitcoin does end up losing this particular zone of support that we were just looking at. And we will come back to those altcoins in just a minute as well. There's so much that I have to cover with you guys, but I want to stay focused right now on this shorter term kind of consolidation range that Bitcoin is in, because I think it's absolutely critical. It's actually the best thing that I think Bitcoin could have done so far, but we do need to see a resolution out of this range relatively soon, and ideally, obviously, a breakout upwards, right? I mean, if we take a look at this right here, a breakout above the 62.5k range is going to very comfortably put Bitcoin back in that $64,000 price area, which I think is absolutely fantastic for Bitcoin. That's really where we want to see Bitcoin at, you know, and then it's going to be a case of, do we find resistance there, or do we kind of slice through it? And you know, you guys know my take on this. I always say the same thing, you know, resistance is resistance, and of course support is support, right? So naturally we found support where we were expecting, but now we do unfortunately have to expect a bit of resistance up ahead. The good news for Bitcoin is that we're in an uptrend, right? I mean, macro, we're in an uptrend. You know, we've just bounced off a support level. There are good things going for Bitcoin. I think bulls are definitely going to anticipate that we break this level. Perhaps, you know, they would hope that we do something a little bit like this, capture some resistance, back test 62, and then get back up, basically entering a new sideways range, which is exactly kind of what we've been doing right here. You know, you kind of hit the resistance level, come back down, hit it again, and then get the breakout. Maybe we wait some more and then get the breakout finally, but broadly the same thing. And I think that's what bulls are going to be looking for, and bears are just going to be looking for a clean, straight rejection off this level, you know, and if you're bearish, then that's probably going to be your best case scenario. There's a lot of liquidity you'll be able to grab up here and then just dump the market, and it would make so much sense. In fact, you've already probably noticed this if you're very observant, but that is exactly what Bitcoin did right here, right? I mean, if we go ahead and take these candles, we can really kind of appreciate exactly that. I took the wrong candles here, bear with me. We can really appreciate exactly that. You know, on this chart here, you know, it probably looks something a little bit like this. So we've already seen this happen before, so for that reason, I don't want you to be too surprised if it does end up happening again. Anything that kind of happens in this price range right now, I think is quite delicate, you know, and so we've really got to keep a close eye on it. But if we do manage to break it, we are up to 67,000 as our next major zone, and really our biggest zone of resistance on this chart, 66, 67k. Very, very important price range on this Bitcoin chart here, and I think it is actually much more important than 64. So really, if you're bullish, you don't want to see Bitcoin struggling too much over here. You really just need to get up here for that real test, and then hopefully by the time we get here, we'll be strong enough to kind of bounce off some of our support and continue moving up. That is the only saving grace for Bitcoin right now. And if we take a look at some of our key indicators, we're going to see that it's not looking great. On the 4-hour time frame, we have a massive 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. We haven't even found resistance from it yet, so that's actually going to start weighing on the market basically going into the next couple of days. That's definitely a problem. If we look at this from the daily EMA ribbon perspective, we've also completely pretty much flipped bearish here, and this resistance right now lines up with the mid 64s and is going to continue to drop down right into this box. So the longer we take to get up to 64, the more of a problem we're going to have, both from our 4-hour Ichimoku and from our daily EMA ribbon here, which are two of my favorite personal favorite indicators here. You know, definitely something I'd be concerned about on the daily time frame here. Again, just not looking amazing. We're just kind of consolidating at the lows. This is clear body language that the market is going to drop. So, you know, right now I think that there is a little bit of optimism. We've obviously seen the fear and greed index kind of move up a little bit. It went to 46. Now it's back down to 40. It's probably going to be at about 46 or even higher again today. There is definitely some kind of happiness coming back into the market. Some of those altcoin losses that people have experienced really kind of pulling themselves back. So there is some relief. And I think the number one thing I'm interested in doing now, because you know me, I wasn't actually that bearish as we were on the way down. I was saying that support is support. Now that we've seen some kind of level of a support bounce, what I'm looking for first and foremost is what is the sentiment saying now, right? Like, are we actually seeing people get very scared, very worried, very upset with the market? You know, staying worried, or are we seeing people like very quickly turn around and very quickly get happy again? To me, on this chart, there's still not a huge amount of reasons to be super excited. You know, I mean, it's kind of the same as before, but I am starting to see that maybe people are getting a bit kind of too carried away. And I think that that kind of optimism can get punished in this market. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. You want to see that people, you know, are kind of cautious of the bounce, right? Like if people are cautious of the bounce, you know, then maybe there's more of a chance that it sticks. But in my experience, when you've got people that are so happy that we got a bounce that they're now just aping back into altcoins and they're aping back into meme coins and all of that crazy shit is happening again, you know, then at that stage, to me, that's just a sign that, like, no one's learned their lesson. We need to go even lower to find that price level where people start learning their lessons. That's just been my personal experience there. Now, here's an interesting kind of longer term chart I wanted to show you guys about kind of developing these daily Ichimoku red clouds, something that I pointed out to you right here. You know, the last couple of times that we did this on some of these occasions here, we did see that it triggered actually the beginning of bear markets, which is quite interesting. On this occasion here, we had a big exception, which is exactly what we're doing right now, where we kind of traded sideways throughout 2023 and had that cloud develop and then still kind of blasted through. So kind of from that particular fractal setup, I think it's actually looking pretty good. I think that if we take a look at it from this perspective here, again, the best case scenario for Bitcoin is that we start to produce a bit of a bounce inside of this cloud here and then come back down to test our support again at 61 just to kind of validate it and continue to move up. We do have you know, a bit of a problem here with the 4-hour EMA ribbon. We've already been testing it a little bit, and it's definitely applying some downward pressure on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's done okay so far. Bitcoin hasn't really struggled too much at the 4-hour EMA ribbon yet, but that could be a problem. However, if we do zoom in, it's actually a lot better on the hourly, and this is actually, I think, the best thing about this chart right now. I do think, like I said earlier on in the video, that actually the very short-term chart is actually looking the best out of them all. And you know, that you got to take that with a pinch of salt, because obviously the longer term charts are always going to be what take precedent, and you know, that's actually going well for us because the longer term chart is incredibly bullish in my opinion. You can't really make this chart bearish the way I see it. You can drop down to 52, 48, 44k. You just can't paint a bearish narrative even at any of those price levels as far as I'm concerned on the very, very long term. But obviously slightly shorter term, we start looking at the daily chart, you know, what's been happening over the last couple of months, last couple of weeks. It does start to get a little bit worse, but when you start zooming back in again, I think the hourly is looking pretty good. And what's interesting about this, what's important about this, like I said, that you got to take a pinch of salt with it, is that, you know, obviously the longer term trends will, you know, kind of take precedent over it, but the only way you can change the longer term trend is if you first change the short term trend, then you got to change the midterm trend, and then only will you see a change on the long term trend, right? So is this an opportunity for some change and for something to get better? I don't know. I think the bulls are going to be looking for that. Me personally, it's a good first sign. Am I excited about it? No, not really. I mean, this is kind of just the bare minimum of what you would want to see. We did have quite nasty resistance here from the 1-hour Ichimoku cloud, and we have now broken above it. There was two fake outs throughout this downtrend here that kind of kicked off on the 10th of June this month. There were two fake outs, but there were many, many more successful rejections off this Ichimoku cloud, and we've now broken out of this 1-hour Ichimoku cloud as well. So that's definitely looking good, and I think that's actually really working in Bitcoin's favor right now. So I think that's absolutely great. On the note of the optimism, you know, we have seen Bitcoin's dominance drop down a little bit. We've seen Bitcoin's dominance kind of form this kind of wedge. Is this a wedge that breaks up? I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think that a lot of people are expecting that Bitcoin's dominance is about to fall off a cliff. I really don't think that's going to happen yet. I think that actually those people are really, really misguided, and they're going to be in for a very, very nasty surprise. I don't see that happening anytime soon, purely because either Bitcoin skyrockets from here and starts setting new all-time highs, in which case, why the hell would you care about your altcoins? There's just more risk for, you know, the same amount of money. You may as well make money on Bitcoin first and then go into alts, and that's how most people do actually think, and I think you'll see the Bitcoin dominance chart reflect that in the future, and you've definitely seen it reflect that in the past every single time. And that's if we move up. But if we move down, then why the hell would you want to be in altcoins? Because altcoins are going to crash so much harder, right? So and I've been saying this for a very, very long time. I still firmly believe it to be the case, which is why I say it with so much confidence. I don't think there's a bull case for alts on a larger time frame yet. I think that there are still some phenomenal opportunities in the short term, and I've already discussed many of them with you on this YouTube channel. And again, those of you that have actually signed up to either Blowfin or Bybit with the links below, you're actually going to be able to trade those coins again with huge bonuses. I mean, Bybit's giving you up to $30,000 in completely free trading capital that you can deploy into the market when you start trading using my link below. Obviously, bear in mind with any of the links I have down below that some of them may not be allowed in your country, so you got to make sure that you follow your local country's regulations and laws. But Blowfin also giving huge bonuses, and like I said, you know, huge prizes up for grabs as well, right? So if you're going to be trading anyway, but you like the idea of getting a free Apple Watch or a free fucking motorbike or car, then definitely check that out, because you're going to do the trading anyway, but you may as well get yourself a nice little toy on the side as well. That's part of life, isn't it? So super cool. I cannot recommend the Tesla Model 3 or the Apple Watch SE enough, both items have changed my life so much that I own many Apple Watches, or have owned many Apple Watches, and I also own multiple Tesla Model 3s even right now. It is that good of a car. So definitely well worth getting if you've been thinking about it. But you can also get it through those rewards, which is even sweeter. You don't even have to pay for it. So that's absolutely amazing. If we do take a look at some of the altcoins, like I said, Solana is looking pretty good in terms of leading that recovery. It does have resistance now up ahead at about the $160, $155 price areas. That's where you'd probably expect another move back down to the 126, 133 range. So that's what I'd be looking at for Solana. Over here on Bonk, we have one of our typical meme coins just kind of trying to recover, really pulling something off right here. I think if it's able to get above some of this resistance, it could fly. I think really a lot of this is going to depend on if Bitcoin can blast through the 62 area and get up to the 64s, and more importantly up to the 66 kind of zone. If it can pull that off, then actually these altcoins are probably going to pop pretty hard. But I think that if it's going to struggle here, or if it drops anytime soon, and in my opinion it's not looking amazing for Bitcoin, then I don't see anything kind of good happening for the altcoin market. Broadly speaking, just so that you guys know, in case you're wondering, how am I feeling overall? Look, we bounced off macro support, so that's absolutely great. Are we doing the best thing we could have done now? No. Are we doing something okay? Yeah. I don't think that there's a clear trade or a clear direction for me personally yet. It's not looking good, and it's not looking horrible. I just need to wait to get a little bit more confirmation, and I'm not worried about missing out on any gains doing that, because obviously the market isn't running away from me. There's going to be unlimited numbers of trading opportunities in the future, just as there were in the past. So I'm not worried about missing any particular trade opportunities. And I would much rather kind of miss out on the first 10-20% of the profit, and then make the next 700% profit, or whatever the hell the number is. Obviously, even 700% is too low for my standards, given that Bitcoin trade, which I'm still in, by the way, well over, I think, 2,000% profit even at this stage. I'd rather make that next 700%, but miss the first 20, just to be a little bit safer. A lot of people don't think that way because they are degenerate gamblers, but if you've got a good kind of sense of financial hygiene, and if you've been educated properly on how to trade, then you might actually just need a little bit more confirmation. If you're quite happy being a degenerate gambler, then you're probably not even on this YouTube channel. So I think that kind of sorts itself out quite neatly. I think that, taking risk is okay in times like this. You just have to understand what you're doing. Most people do take risks. Well, not most, but many people do take risks in even markets like these altcoins right now, during times like now. And that's one thing, but it's another thing entirely if you don't even understand the risk you're taking, then you're just in deep shit. Then you're in deep trouble, and that's not something that we like to do, especially here on this YouTube channel. We want to make informed, sensible financial decisions, and of course, one of the best ways that you can do that is by watching these videos where I'm giving you, a relatively unbiased, relatively objective view at what the bulls want and what the bears want, and then giving you all of that so that you can make your own decisions. And of course, I know you're curious, so I'll tell you where I'm leaning as well. So there you go. I hope you have enjoyed this video. You know what to do. If you have, hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that stuff. We've just smashed through 134,000 subscribers. Let's get this thing up to 135, pump it up to 150K. We are on it for this market. Wherever we go, whether it's down or up, I'm going to be giving you the most sober, grounded, realistic analysis that I can pull off for you guys right here on this YouTube channel. It is always my pleasure, and I'll see you in the next one.